Hi everyone! It's been a little while, hasn't it? I'm back with a new video for you all. I believe this is my first video of the year, first video of 2022, which is pretty wild. I really didn't mean to stay away for as long as I did, but for a number of reasons, which I will get into shortly, I really felt like I kind of needed this time off this year to just kind of figure things out for myself. And yeah, it's been a year. But before we get into that, I will briefly talk about what you'll see me doing in this video. I did some figure studies using a reference pack by Graphite Studio. I have mentioned Graphite Studio in a number of my YouTube videos in the past. They provide amazing reference photos for artists, and the reference pack I'm using in this video is called 560 plus casual female reference pictures. I picked this one because the model seemed really expressive with her expressions and poses, and the poses were primarily sitting poses, which I actually tend to prefer. I find those more static and less actiony poses to be a little bit more inspiring for me when I'm coming up with my illustration ideas. Feel free to study along with me through the images that I will throw up on the screen, or you can check out Graphite Studio's amazing library of reference packs with my coupon code ChrisHong20 for 20% off of any of their reference packs that they have available. Okay, so it's really difficult for me to start this video. I've been putting off doing this video for a long time, as you can imagine. I really don't know like where to begin, how to explain like why I've been away for so long. So I feel like this video is going to be a complete mess. So I do apologize in advance, but I will try my best. I did make some notes that I'm going to refer to hopefully keep me on track. But I just don't know like how to organize my thoughts in a clear and concise way. So where have I been? I've been living my best soft life this year, honestly. I guess what led me down living my soft life this year is it kind of started out as a series of unfortunate events that kind of beat me down. And it sounds sad to say, but I guess I kind of threw in the towel and I had to just let go of a lot of things. Yeah, so I guess I will talk about what the series of unfortunate events were. And I realized that when I explain some of these events, that there are going to be some eye rolls. I know in the audience, you're going to think like, wow, like if that is enough to just like completely derail your life, then like there's no hope for you. And it's true. Like I recognize that I get bogged down by seemingly very insignificant problems in life, but you know, it's just the year that I've had, and I really felt like I needed to just take some time off for a bit. But yeah, anyway, so what happened? I'm trying to think back. What happened in 2021 is that I made an art book called Tumble, which by the way is available on my online shop. I had my shop closed for a little bit, but now it's back up and running again. And yeah, so last year I worked on putting that art book together, and I ran a very successful Kickstarter campaign that really exceeded all my expectations, just like blew them out of the water and beyond. I really had no idea that it would do so well. And that was around June, I believe, of 2021. So my art book is definitely the biggest thing I was able to accomplish last year. And yeah, after running that campaign, I definitely took it a little bit easy. But then around the fall, that is when I decided to, get back to work and start working on a new Skillshare class. So last year in the fall, I had begun working and producing my watercolor portrait class, and it was going really well until my external hard drive failed. And of course, I was working predominantly off of the external hard drives. So basically all of the video files for my Skillshare class that I was working on, they were on that external hard drive, and the external hard drive failed. And everyone always says to back up your shit. Yeah, take it from me, back up your shit. I was just in shock. I had never experienced something like that before, and I was obviously in a state of panic. I didn't know what to do. Long story short, I sent it in for data recovery, and it cost an arm and a leg. Let me tell you, it was not cheap. Honestly, the reason why I wanted the data recovered from that external hard drive was not so much that I wanted to recover all the work that I did for the Skillshare class I was working on, but it was more so that I had basically all of my life's photos on there, at least in the last 2-3 years. I was dumb and I did not have any other backups of it anywhere else. And I have had an experience in the past where I had lost a big chunk of photos that spans a year's amount of time, and I was never able to recover those photos. And looking back on my life now, that year is kind of a black hole in the timeline of my life, and that really makes me sad. And I wish I had done the due diligence of backing up my photos better. So I really didn't want it to happen to me again. And so after humming and hawing for a little bit, I ultimately decided that memories and photos are worth more than the thousands of dollars. So I just ultimately put my hands up, and I paid the amount, and I was able to recover most of the data back. The external hard drive was a 4 terabyte hard drive, so you can imagine how many photos, how much video footage was on that thing. And oh boy, that was a big lesson that I learned last year. But this is just kind of what I think started the whole chain of events for me. My external hard drive failing, it definitely put a little dent in my schedule last year, because I couldn't I wasn't sure what I was going to be able to recover for the Skillshare class, so I had to put a halt on that. And because I was so dumb and I had everything on there, I couldn't really work on anything that I wanted to do. And around this time was when I had received news that my books were going to arrive in Canada, and I was trying to coordinate receiving that, getting that through customs approval, and somehow just receiving thousands of books and then getting them into my hands. That was also a bit of a trip. I had never imported anything so huge in my life before. I really didn't know what to expect. And long story short, I definitely made some mistakes and wasn't proactive enough in really trying to understand the proper protocol for how these things work. And yeah, like my books just like sat in a warehouse for a long time when they didn't really have to, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. And anyway, it was just like another mistake that I made that like cost me more money than it really should have. The whole process of actually bringing the books from like the shipping containers off and into my house. So the whole hard drive failure story and the difficulty that I had getting the books into my hands and the costly mistakes that I made, that is to give context as to how I kind of changed my relationship with money. I used to be a lot, due to just how I grew up, being an immigrant and watching my parents always kind of struggle for money. I think I grew up being a lot more careful with money and having a more kind of scarcity mindset with money. I was always responsible with money, but I will say I think money always kind of held me back a little bit when it came to making important decisions and money was involved. It would really take me a long time to pull the trigger on those kinds of decisions. Because I don't know, it was just scary to make decisions where a lot of money was involved. I just really didn't want to make any mistakes, but it would often result in me just humming and hawing over everything, any insignificant little thing, and it would just create unnecessary time lost because I just could not pull the trigger. And so I really do think that having had that external hard drive fail, I know it sounds silly, but it really made me realize just what I value more in life. Thankfully, I did have enough money in my savings and from the Kickstarter to be able to pay to have the data recovered. And at this point now, like almost a year later, having gone through that experience, like I don't even think about that money that I paid anymore. Like, not really. I mean, I still do a little bit. I'm still a little bit salty about it, but I really just don't. I'm just grateful to have recovered all the photos and the memories that I hold precious and I can look back on in my life. So yeah. So let me not get too off track here. So basically, last year, towards the end of the year, the hard drive failure happened, threw a wrench in my schedule and my spirit. And then it was such a struggle to figure out how to get the books actually like off the shipping containers, get it through customs and like through the warehouse, out of the warehouse into my hands. Lots of costly mistakes along the way that did not need to happen, but did. So my point in telling you all this is to try to explain the kind of mentality shift that happened for me in 2022. I came into 2022, I finally had my books in hand. I think I received them just before Christmas. And pretty much immediately after New Year's, I went head first into the Kickstarter fulfillment, and I had over 1,000 books to ship out. I think I had to ship out maybe 1,400 or 1,500 books, which was the Kickstarter rewards plus the 300 plus pre-orders that I had on my online shop. So it was a lot of books to ship out, and people had been waiting for so long since the end of the campaign in June. So I felt a lot of pressure to get them out as soon as possible. But of course, I had not anticipated the full scope of like how difficult and time-consuming fulfillment would be for the amount of books that I had to ship out. Oh boy. I really, in hindsight, I really wish I had hired some help, but I'm the type of person that always feels like delegating and overseeing tasks seems to be more of a hassle than just doing it all myself. But I think I was just being stubborn, and I really should have gotten someone to help me, because I could have probably shaved the time in half. Maybe I'll talk more about the fulfillment of my Kickstarter in another video. I'll just say now that it was a lot of work, and it definitely burnt me out for the start of the year. Fulfilling the Kickstarter rewards took me basically 2 months of like nonstop work, like from wake to sleep, of like pretty physically laborious work. But I got it done, and I think most of it delivered successfully. I've had a few issues here and there, and there are still some people, some outstanding backers, that have not gotten back to me with their mailing addresses. So if you are one of those backers, please do reach out to me with your backer number or your backer email and your information, and let me know what your mailing address is so that I can ship out your book. So I spent the first 2 months of the year in 2022 working away on the Kickstarter fulfillment, and I was completely burnt out mentally, physically from that experience. It was such a rewarding experience, but nevertheless, I was very burnt out. So I definitely needed to take some time off. I just didn't realize that me taking time off would result in me taking like basically the whole year off. I guess it's still like, you know, by the time I am recording this video, it is August, so it's not the entire year yet. You know, I've still got many months of the year left, thankfully. But yeah, this break really just got a little bit out of hand, I will say. Yeah, so I guess in March, I decided to treat myself and go on vacation. By this time, here in Toronto, Canada at least, we were coming out of lockdown and travel was a thing again. So I had planned on going to Portugal back in 2020 in April for a month. And we all know what happened around then in 2020, and we all know why I could not go. And so I figured now is the perfect time to go. Countries were opening back up, people were traveling again, and I had done so much research into Portugal for my trip that it would be such a waste to not go. Just kind of came together really quickly. Because now I have a cat. I don't know if I've ever really like talked about my cat here yet, but anyway, I have a cat and his name is Oscar, and he is a character. But yeah, now that I have a cat, I needed to find a sitter for him to watch him while I'm away. And I was just running the idea to my mom, asking her like, hey, like, would you be open to watching him while I'm away in Portugal? And she was just like, hey, why don't I come with you? So it actually ended up being a mother and daughter trip to Portugal, which honestly I treasure and cherish so much that we were able to do that. One thing about my year in 2022 was that I really realized what I hold dear in life, which is to just make memories with your loved ones and to like strengthen and foster the relationships that I hold dear in my life. And I had never done a trip with my mom like this before, ever, because we just never had the means growing up. And my mom had never been to Europe. I had never been to Europe. But my mom, you know, in her 50, 60 years had never been to Europe. So I really just wanted to give her this experience. And yeah, we went to Portugal for 2 weeks, and it was honestly like, it was so wonderful, and I really had the time of my life. And I can't wait to go back one day and explore so much more of Portugal, what Portugal has to offer. We did a week in Lisbon. A day in Sintra. A day in Belém.
Você tá me querendo, enfim. E fale mais alto a voz do coração. Coisa do destino foi te conhecer. É meu desatino, te tanto querer. A vontade louca quer te desenhar. Veja sua boca e me entregar. E assim.
We did 3 days in Porto, which really just was not enough. I really love Porto. It's absolutely just magical. Like it's straight out of a fairy tale for me.
이거 누면 탁탁 치는구나.
We did 3 days in the Douro Valley region, which was just incredible. Loved driving around and just taking in all the sights. I think we did a day or two back in Lisbon before flying back to Canada. and it was such an amazing experience, and it really reaffirmed to me like what I value in my life. I want to work hard and make a lot of money and be able to have these experiences and see the world. And while I was in Portugal and I was sharing some snippets of my trip through my Insta stories, I had so many messages from you guys who are Portuguese and live in Portugal, like, oh, I can't believe you're in my home country, like, you know, I know exactly that place you've been to, like my art school is really close to there, and like I had a lot of people recommending me places to try out, and it was just so lovely, and I felt so connected with you guys, and like I just felt so connected with people in general, and I just want more of these types of experiences. And I know that these types of experiences require money. And so yeah, this trip honestly just reaffirmed to me what I value in life, which is to travel and to see the world and experience different cultures and make wonderful memories with the people that I love. And yeah, that does require money. So it definitely revitalized me when I came back to Canada, and I wanted to get back into the swing of things. But of course, it's just not that easy, is it? When I came back, I was ready to get back into work, but I really just kind of fell into a creative rut, which seems just so, like, of course, like so perfect. But yeah, I really just could not get anything off the ground. I made many attempts at a number of illustrations that I just could not execute it to the vision that I had for it. And one after another, just back-to-back failures, it became really, really demoralizing. And I really just couldn't figure out what it was. In my mind, I felt that I couldn't execute the illustrations on a technical level, and it made me feel like I had regressed, which is like never a good feeling. But maybe in hindsight, I was frustrated also with the subject matter and the kind of like aesthetic I was after. I don't know what it is. I don't think I have it quite figured out yet. Unfortunately, I will say I still feel like I'm in a creative rut. So yeah, it was just really demoralizing to come back from a wonderful trip, feel really revitalized and just ready to work. But nothing I did really came together, and it just made me feel really insecure about my own ability. And it really didn't help that I hadn't been active on Instagram or YouTube, all this time. And, I was noticing my engagement on Instagram was falling, and I was actually losing followers as well, which is like, it is what it is. And so all that just kind of compounded and made me feel not so great. So because I had these back-to-back failed attempts at illustrations, I try to shift my focus into doing more studies. In the past, that always worked well for me in at least just like building up my confidence back, being able to make posts for Instagram or content for YouTube. But even my studies, man, this year, I don't know what it is, but I just have not been able to execute anything to my satisfaction. Like, I've only done a handful of things, maybe not even that I deem up to my standards this year. I really just can't figure it out. So frustrating, so demoralizing. Like, usually doing studies here and there in between illustrations, that really does the trick for me in just switching things up and switching up like mediums too. and I can usually bounce back after that, but this time, oh boy, I couldn't even do studies to my liking. So honestly, I've just been in a creative rut this whole year. Could I have tried harder? I probably definitely could have tried harder. I probably could sit down and work more and longer hours than I admittedly have done this year. Yeah, I think I really just, got tired of feeling bad about myself and feeling incompetent. I got tired of that feeling. It's not fun to realize that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. Like, that is not a fun feeling. So I think I definitely shielded myself from having those thoughts and that feeling coming up this year by honestly just not making enough attempts. And that is just honestly the truth as to why I haven't done as much this year. I just felt like anything I did, I just could not do it to my level of satisfaction and my standards. So I was dealing with like a confidence issue this year. And I'm honestly still dealing with it. So because my confidence in myself has really taken a toll this year, because I haven't been able to fulfill like my creative needs, I have been trying to compensate that by working on myself in other ways. Honestly, the only thing that has kind of maintained my like belief and faith in myself this year was the fact that I've been able to maintain at least some semblance of like a routine of working out, like a fitness routine. So I never used to work out ever before my 30s. I'm 31 now. But before my 30s, I had never worked out ever. Like, I was not someone that like ever went to the gym or did anything like active. But this year, because I was in this creative rut, which really took a toll on my confidence, I felt I needed to do something. I needed to do something to prove to myself that I can do something that I put my mind to and I can show up for myself. Yeah, so the part of me living a soft life this year is that I have been able to keep up a fitness routine. I have been working out. So I don't do anything crazy. Every weekday, I do 30 minutes of body weight exercises. I just watch basically kind of like Chloe Ting videos where they're guided and they're just like 30 minutes long, and I do them from home, so I don't need to go to the gym or anything like that. And I played around with doing them in the afternoon, but I ultimately decided that I am more likely to get it done when I get it done out of the way in the morning. So my routine now is I wake up and it is the first thing that I do after brushing my teeth. I do my 30 minutes of exercise every weekday, and that has become a non-negotiable for me. And I've basically managed to do it all year, minus 2 weeks when I was away in Portugal. And honestly, I am so proud of myself for having been able to keep that up, because I have not been able to keep up anything else this year to that level of commitment. It is the one thing that I've managed to stick to this year, and the one thing that I managed to just like show up for myself, like even though I wake up and I'm super hungry and I want to eat right away, like I'm so glad that I have been able to do this for myself. And I truly believe, had I not managed to do that, had I not managed to keep it up, I really do think that because I was able to show up for myself and because I was able to at least commit to something, that I have maintained some sense of just faith in myself and my ability to do things and get things done, because I've been in a creative rut and I guess professional career rut this whole year and haven't really done much to make money this year aside from just like selling my books online. I haven't done anything active to make more money. So obviously that's been something that's been like weighing on my mind this year. But you know, again, going back to changing my mindset around money and my relationship with money, I just recognize that this year I am in a creative rut and I just need to be kind to myself. Maybe I've been a little bit too kind to myself, admittedly, but I need to be kind to myself and I need to do things that I feel I have more control over. So with exercise, at least, I knew that I could at least get my clothes on, get the mat out, and I just spend 30 minutes doing it and I could get it done. I will never regret the time working out. I will never beat myself up for working out, you know? Like I just set aside that time and I do it and it's done. So whereas art, sometimes I do it and I feel bad having done it, you know, like it makes me feel worse for having done it because I feel like I've regressed in my skills and I just, it kind of reflects all these insecurities back at me, right? So I think this year I just resolved to do things within my control to make myself feel better and to work on aspects in my life that I felt I had neglected in the past. I'm not growing in creative ways that I would like to see, but I have control in other aspects of my life. I can do so many other things, not just creatively or professionally, but there's so much more to my life than art and so much more to my life than making money that I had completely neglected in the past. And I really used this year as an opportunity to get reacquainted with those aspects of my life and do the work that I had neglected to do in the past. So because I was starting to feel a little bit helpless, because I wasn't able to create the kinds of work that I wanted to see out there, and that was really taking a toll on my confidence, I tried to shift my focus this year into taking control of my life in the ways that I can, you know? So in 2020, I made such strides in making an effort into maintaining relationships with people. So to provide more context for this, I'll explain a little bit about like where I'm coming from. For those of you that have been following me for a long time, you'll probably know that I had kind of moved around quite a bit, kind of all over Canada. If you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I was in Vancouver for a few years, and then after that I was in Halifax, and after that I was in Ottawa, and now I am here in Toronto. I've been here in Toronto since March of 2021. In my mind, I kind of lived like out of a suitcase for the last 6-7 years, if not like basically my entire time here in Canada. I feel like I never really had a sense of permanence because I have moved around so much. Pretty much like every 2 years I'm always moving for whatever reason, and that has kind of shaped the person that I am and my behaviors and how I have treated relationships with people in the past. So I had basically grown up in and around the Greater Toronto area. So coming back to Toronto last year was almost like coming back home, even though I had never lived in Toronto before. I have family fairly close by, and I have some friends here in Toronto. And while I was kind of moving all across Canada, it was difficult for me to maintain friendships just because I was never at a place for very long, and I started working remotely and working from home, and I was never really able to connect very well with my ex's friends and their like girlfriends. And so I've always kind of operated as a lone wolf type of person, but I realized that I don't really want to operate that way anymore. And so coming back to Toronto, where I have some friends, like I really resolved to try and reconnect with those friends and make a conscious effort to foster those relationships, because they mean a lot to me. It means a lot to me that I've been able to maintain those friendships for so many years, despite the fact that I've moved around so much, like all over Canada. And I realized that those relationships with those friends, like it's such a blessing to me, that I don't want to take them for granted anymore. And yeah, so this year I really resolved to just being a good friend. And I know that sounds so silly, but like, believe me when I say, like, I honestly don't think I was ever really a good friend in the past, because I was just so unavailable. And it's been a really, really long time since I've actually been in the same city as my friends. So this is a first for me. And because I have such a history of moving around so much, I still feel like I don't know how long I'm going to be in Toronto for. So I'm going to use my time wisely while I'm here. While my friends are in the same city as me, I'm going to make an effort. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to let them know that I am here for them and that I'm available if they ever want to hang out. It's been so great. I feel so much more connected to my friends now. I've made a really good friend while I'm here. You guys will probably know, her name is Tina, aka I'm a Wonder, here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram. Like, I came to Toronto last year and I reached out to her on Instagram. I was like, hey, I know you live in Toronto. I just moved here recently. Do you wanna meet up for bubble tea? And yeah, we met up. Turns out she lived like 15-minute walk away from me, and yeah, we've developed a fast friendship. And I've come to realize how important friendships are. Yeah, I really come to realize how important friendships are. And so this year has just been me doing my very best to just strengthen those relationships with my friends. And yeah, that's a big difference for me this year than any years past. Like, I've never felt so just like loved by my friends. And yeah, it's a really great feeling. Like, even though I have really let things go this year creatively and professionally, I do not regret the time that I've spent in working on the relationships in my life this year. So what else is really different for me in 2022? So along with fitness, I have taken up biking, which I had not been on a bicycle since I was like a wee child. So that was really nerve-wracking, getting back on a bicycle again. But you know what they say about riding a bicycle, it's like riding a bicycle. You never really forget. And I was really pleasantly surprised when I got on the bike, and it just felt like riding a bicycle. You know, it felt great, honestly. And so I've been riding around the city any chance that I get on those city bikes, the bikes that you can just like rent out. And it's been an amazing way to explore the city. I basically like rarely take public transit now, and I hate walking because biking is so much faster. And I've really been just loving just getting on a bike and exploring the city that way. And again, because I've never had like a sense of permanence anywhere I've stayed, just because I just never know when I'm gonna move next and where I'm going to move next. I'm operating on that, like I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, so I want to explore Toronto as much as possible while I'm here. So that's another thing that I've just been spending a lot of time doing this year, is just exploring the city, exploring all the neighborhoods here and what the city has to offer, checking out new restaurants and bars, and yeah, because I want to say, like, when someone asks me like what's good in Toronto, I want to be able to recommend them places and be able to say that I've done Toronto, you know? Like, I feel like I can't really say that about Halifax or Ottawa, because I just stayed home a lot of the times, and I never went out, and I just really didn't live while I was in those other cities, and I really regret that. And so I don't want to make that mistake again. I really want to live while I'm here, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. Who knows what's in store for me. So another thing that I did this year that's different from all years past is, and this is gonna sound so trivial, but I dyed my hair. I got money pieces, I think they're called, these like highlights at the front of my bangs, and just like peekaboo highlights underneath. And I had never dyed my hair blonde before, ever, and this was my first time, and it's something that I had thought about and ruminated on for so long, but I always felt like, oh, maybe it's a little too wild, maybe it's a little too out there, I don't know if I can pull it off. But I finally built up the courage and I pulled the trigger, and honestly, I've been loving it. I feel like I've been living my best life. I feel like I've been missing out for so long, being so scared to do just things to my hair, but I really can't see myself going back to like plain old black hair. Whenever I scroll through my pictures on my phone and I see myself with black hair, it just looks so plain. I know this must seem so insignificant, but it's really just to show that I really felt like in years past I've held myself back in so many ways, but this year I have been making an effort to get out of my comfort zone and explore my life in ways I've never explored before. And I don't have much art to show for it, but my life feels richer after this year. It's been a year of introspection and growth in so many ways. I can't really regret it, and I can't beat myself up too hard for it, even though I still kind of do. I really feel like I needed this time off, and I believe that what I have gained from this year, even though these things may not be as tangible as illustrations or money, I believe that it is still very valuable, and I'm just glad I've gone through this experience, and I've gone through this kind of journey of self-reflection this year and self-discovery. I really do feel that I learned a lot about myself in so many ways this year. So I won't beat myself up too hard about it. I am here now. It is what it is. What is it? It's August. It's mid-August. We still have, at least 3 or 4 good months left in the year, right? I think we can make some things happen until then. So yeah, I totally forgot to mention this earlier. And I knew I would leave some things out, but a big reason why I haven't made YouTube videos in so long is because around the time that I had my hard drive fail, that's when my MacBook Pro basically became like almost impossible to use. I have the generation of MacBook Pros that have the annoying touch bar, and the touch bar started malfunctioning, and it basically just flashes light like constantly, and so I can't even use it anymore. I just cover it up because it just flashes light into my eyes constantly. But not only that, I did some updates to the MacBook Pro once, and it completely slowed down my computer and it made it unusable. I could not operate Premiere Pro to edit videos. It was almost impossible to use, and I really could not figure it out. I tried going back, like previous to the updates. I tried to get as many things unloaded off the MacBook to like free up space so it's not being bogged down. Like I really tried, but I couldn't figure it out. Oh my god, I also forgot to mention that the keyboard on my MacBook is just completely busted. Like I can't use the keyboard on my Mac. This generation of MacBook it's just a complete lemon. Like, and they know this because they have a program on their website where like a certain MacBook from certain years, they have like this keyboard replacement program because they know that they fucked up their butterfly keyboards. Anyway, that is why I wasn't able to make videos like earlier in the year, and then I decided to buy a new MacBook. But we all know that there was some kind of graphics card shortage, so I had placed an order for a new MacBook Pro like back in January, but the waiting window for the new MacBook Pro was like 3 months out. And by the time it got close to the delivery window, it turned out that the delivery window, it fell exactly in the same window as my Portugal trip. And I called Apple. I tried to get them to just hold the MacBook at their store instead of delivering it to me, but for some reason they couldn't do that. And so I just had to cancel it. I had to cancel the MacBook order, and then I had to reorder it and wait another 3 months for it. Like I know it sounds really trivial, but things like this throw such a wrench in my life that I just like, I can't, you know? It was so frustrating, like having to wait so long for this new MacBook Pro. But anyway, so I didn't end up actually reordering it because it was so frustrating to me that I had to cancel it the first time. So I just kept putting it off and off, of course, in like classic me fashion, because I just had such a hard time pulling the trigger. Like, oh, do I wait 3 months again for this new computer? Or do I try to take my current busted MacBook in for repairs and like wait who knows how long without a computer? But anyway, so that is also part of the reason why everything got so delayed. And but luckily, apparently I think the graphics shortage is less of a thing. So when I finally placed my order for this current MacBook Pro, which I used to edit this video with, the wait this time was maybe only 2 weeks, so I was finally able to pull the trigger. And so yeah, this video was edited on my new MacBook Pro. It was not without struggle trying to set this up, and actually have a bit of issue with Premiere Pro and something to do with color mapping or color grading the video footage from my iPhone, but I found like a bit of a workaround this time, so this will just have to do, but I will have to figure it out going forward. But I'm happy to finally be making videos again, and hopefully I won't be plagued by any ongoing technical issues, because Lord knows, oh man, that can really just completely derail everything. I really wish it wouldn't, but I get so frustrated when I come across technical issues. But yeah, I'm really determined now that I'm finally back and I have no more excuses in regards to the MacBook situation. Have a new computer now, no excuses. I feel really re-energized after the year that I've had, after I have reaffirmed what my values are in life. I really cherish being able to travel. I really cherish being able to have a more relaxed relationship with money. And I hope that doesn't sound bad, but I really do mean that. I don't want any money decision to be painstaking, because how I see it now is I will always be able to make the money, but I will never get the time back. And I often waste so much time because I can't pull the trigger on decisions where money is involved. So I would really like to continue to just shift my relationship with money in that sense. And I really cherish the relationships I have in my life because these relationships have been a constant in my life, a constant that I've never really had before, having moved around so much. Ever since I was a kid, ever since I immigrated here. So yeah, that is, I think, basically all that I wanted to talk about for this video. I know that was a lot, but I hope that gave you all some insight into just what I've been up to and where I've been and why I've been away for so long. I do feel kind of ready to get back into the swing of things, though I am still in my creative rut. I am going to shift my focus into just making more YouTube videos. Making YouTube videos, at least, it helps me connect with my audience. It helps generate more sales for my art book, and it helps get the word out there for my Skillshare classes, which really is the backbone of how I make money. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna put aside the creative kind of desires for now, and just concentrate on making money by making YouTube videos. And I do plan on getting back into working on my Skillshare class, the watercolor portrait class, and that's probably going to be my biggest project coming up pretty soon. I really hope to get that out there into the world, definitely by the end of the year. So that's something hopefully to look forward to for those of you that have been waiting for it for quite a long time. But yeah, it was really nice making this video for all of you that have been waiting for a video from me, that have been curious about what I've been up to. Thank you so much for sticking around and being interested still. Like I appreciate it so much. I really like sharing more about myself in this kind of way here on YouTube. It feels like I'm talking to a friend. Maybe some of what I've shared seems a little personal for some of you, but I've always liked sharing more about myself online for some reason, in a controlled way, and like I share only things that I'm comfortable sharing, and I've always liked sharing more of myself, because I feel like it gives more meaning to the artwork, and it just makes things a little bit more interesting, right? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching and listening. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. I thank you in advance for taking the time to leave a comment. I may not necessarily be able to, respond to all of them or elaborate if you guys have any questions on certain things, but please know that I do appreciate them so much, and I do read them. Yeah, I just can't wait. I'm so excited to be back and to just make more videos for you guys and see what you have to say. I'm really curious. I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to come back for a long time. So this is really for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to just sharing more and more with you, hopefully soon. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you like how these studies turned out, and I hope you studied along with me. Again, don't forget to check out Graffiti Studio using my coupon code ChrisHong20 for 20% off all of their amazing reference packs. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!